March 4th, 2013, and this is the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. On today's podcast, we will preview the 2013 Silver Dollar Speedway season with track announcer Troy Hennig. But first, let's take a look at the racing results from a huge opening weekend on the West Coast. Friday and Saturday nights saw the USAC CRA Sprint Cars and USAC Western Midgets in action at Canyon Speedway Park for the Copper on Dirt. The entire weekend was dominated by Brian Clausen, with Clausen winning both division features on Friday and winning the midget race on Saturday. Clausen fell short in his bid for a 4-for-4 weekend when he came home in third behind race winner R.J. Johnson in the CRA finale on Saturday. The USAC Western Midget main event on Saturday night was highlighted by Kyle Larson. Larson headed to Canyon Speedway after running his NASCAR Nationwide race at Phoenix, hopped into the Keith Kunz number 71, started at the rear of the feature, and stormed to a 5th place finish. With Clausen's dominating weekend in the USAC CRA and with limited USAC National and CRA conflicts, some observers have him expected to run the entire 2013 USAC CRA. Clausen is expected to run Saturday night's main event at Paris Auto Speedway as well. The NASCAR K&N Pro Series West hit the 1-mile Phoenix International Raceway on Saturday night for a 60-mile affair. Greg Pursley dominated the first 49 laps before losing the lead to Gene Price Motorsports teammate Cameron Haley. A caution on lap 52 bunched the field up, and Pursley took the lead back, fending off Haley and Michael Self for the victory.
We had a great night. Just ever since we unloaded off the trailer, we were good. Both of our cars, my teammate Cameron Haley, had a great practices, got the pole. Race started out really good. Just tried to save my car. Had some to have some at the end. A lot of the times under the yellows, my car took about a lap to get going, so there was no saving anything at the end. We had a great car, and just really proud of everybody at Gene Price Motorsports. Actually, one more win and we tied the all-time record for wins here at the track. So it's pretty cool to be in company of the big names here that have won races, and to be able to put in that category is pretty awe-inspiring to me.
The Lucas Oil Modified Series made their big return on Saturday night at Havasu 95 Speedway in Arizona with 34 entries and Chris Gershman taking the win. Notably, the Northern California cars were strong, with Garcia Racing's Nick Romano finishing 3rd and Manteca's David Crouch finishing 9th in the 100-lap race. The Sherm Toller Memorial for winged 360s and wingless spec sprints at Marysville Raceway Park was also on Saturday night, serving as the NorCal kickoff race. A nearly capacity crowd was treated to a fast-paced race with no flips and a smooth and fast race surface. Despite a disappointing 12 entries from the wingless cars, they put on a show, with Scott Hall taking the lead from Gary Paulson after some hard contact. Paulson was able to continue on to finish 2nd behind Hall at the finish. The winged 360 competition attracted a stout field of 24 cars. Andy Gregg added Brian Cannon on the wrenches in the offseason, and it paid off, landing Gregg quick time, and he led the first 9 laps of the main event. Things turned south for Gregg when he slowed to bring out the caution on lap 9, and then later in the event he tagged the inside tires. Sean Becker assumed the lead and maintained it to the finish, but not before an exciting wheel-banging duel with Tommy Tarleton over an 18-lap run in lap traffic. Becker pulled away from Tarleton in a 2-lap shootout to take the $2,500 victory, with 8th place starting Greg DeCaris rounding out the podium.
It feels great. I mean, exactly like you said, we had a lot of momentum at the end of last season, with winning at the Gold Cup, we swept Fall Nationals, and then to get that win at Calistoga was huge. And after that, you just want to keep racing week after week, but then we have the long off season, and you never know what's going to happen. But I've been just kind of keeping myself in shape, racing outlaw karts during the wintertime, making sure there's no rust whenever I come back, and to come out here the first race and get a win, it's huge, and it says a lot about this team and their hard work over the off season.
When we come back to the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, we'll talk to Troy Hennig about the upcoming Silver Dollar Speedway season. But first, a look at our sponsors. StephenBlakesley.com is brought to you by MotoWear International. Throughout the world of racing, there is a common thread. MotoWear. Online at motowear.com. And also brought to you by Matt Jackson of Proline Pit Carts, the promoter of the Toyota Southwest Superlates racing at Willow Springs Raceway. For more information, visit swsracing.com. And also brought to you by qmparts.com, the one-stop shop for all your quarter midget racing needs. For more information and to order your parts today, log on to qmparts.com. And we're back on the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, and we're talking to Troy Hennig, the announcer and director of communications at Silver Dollar Speedway. And Troy, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Stephen. Good to see you Saturday at Marysville, and look forward to talking to you throughout the year.
Yeah, let's talk about Marysville a little bit. That track was very hooked up, very fast, a little bit tough to pass. But we had a really great battle there between Sean Becker and Tommy Tarleton for the Sherm Toller Memorial, and the stands were packed. It was just a great weekend, I think.
Well, looking at a promoter's perspective of this thing, couldn't have asked for a better night, Stephen, for a fan's point, too. You had a pretty good car count for that early in the year. I mean, that early in March, guys are still putting their cars together. So I thought that was a good turnout. The wing list was a little light, but that's expected too, the wing list, that early in the year. But the track, I hadn't been down there since they put the new clay on it, and the clay was super smooth, really hooked up. I think, in hindsight, maybe Paul, when he started watering the track Saturday morning, it was sunny. And I think it surprised all of us, probably even you included, how cloudy and dark it got so quick. And that also plays with the moisture control in the track. Once you put it in, and the cloud cover comes, you can't take it out, and that produces typically what we saw, a really fast hooked up track with not a lot of passing, but I'll tell you what, the speeds were so amazing Saturday night, and I talked to some drivers. They said they had never, ever gone that fast at Marysville before. So if you like speed, the smell of the methanol, open wheel wing sprint cars, it was just a great way to start off 2013 in the NorCal sprint car world.
And although it was a 360 race and Tommy Tarleton and Sean Becker do run the 360s a lot, I still think that event really gave some of the fans that might be casual sprint car fans a real glimpse of just how good Sean Becker and Tommy Tarleton are. And those two guys, I've got to say, they've got to be two of the hottest drivers going right now in California.
Yeah, I would say, obviously Sean Becker, if you think about how he ended last year, and then to start off 2013 with a big $2,500 win at the Sherm Toller Memorial at Marysville, I'd say he is the hottest driver in California. When you look at what he did last year, went in a prelim night at the World of Outlaws race, the Gold Cup, sweeping the Fall Nationals at Chico, winning at Calistoga, the 75th annual race there. There's not many better drivers that I even can think of right now. You could probably put John Allard and Kyle Hurst and those guys in the mix, but they haven't raced yet really in California. So he right now is the top dog. Sean Becker, Tommy Tarleton, a complete pro. He's been doing this a long time. He has great equipment, has a great crew. He just has all the intangibles that a top tier sprint car team needs. And he had fun when I got to interview him on the front straightaway. He smiled. He said he was having fun. He enjoyed being at Marysville, and he had kind of tipped his hat that said, look, we're going to be up in Northern California a lot more this year. His dad had some work to do up in that area, and when they're in Northern California working, they're bringing their race cars. And not only him, but a kid that I think is going to be just outstanding, Carson Macedo. They're going to be, every time you see Tommy Tarleton, you said you're going to see Carson Macedo as a two-car team. Now, that does nothing but just make me happy as a person that works so closely with promoter Dennis Gage. Not only do you get Tommy Tarleton, but you get Carson, and you get two cars at your track instead of one.
And, of course, the big race for you guys, your season opener this weekend, the Silver Cup. And you got a little preview of that on Sunday with kind of a practice testing day. Looked like you got a lot of good stock cars out there, some modified, some sprint cars. Last year, The track conditions were a little dicey at that Silver Cup. For fans that are thinking about coming out this year to the Silver Cup, what can you tell them about where the track is compared to 2012?
Well, great question. We started off 2012, and real quick, the wind was killing us last year at Silver Cup. That's what destroyed our track on Saturday. But, we had some issues up until August of last year, and Dennis Gage bit the bullet and bought some dirt and had it hauled in, and ever since we've got this new clay, I felt the Gold Cup was successful, the Fall Nationals was great, and as you alluded to, we did open up Sunday with our play date, and we had nearly 50 cars, just an abundance of dirt modifieds, man. We had 14 or 15, and as you probably know, but maybe your listeners don't, we actually are also now moved to IMCA rules for the dirt modifieds, which you're going to be able to earn points on our track for the championship. You're going to be able to earn regional points and national points. So we've got the most calls from any division has been from that modified division over the winter, and people are excited about coming up on Friday nights and racing modifieds. Now, our track is predominantly known as a sprint car track, but, modifieds put on, if we can get 16 to 20 on the track at once, it's a heck of a show. And there's no reason why all indications are pointing to we are going to have that many this year on Friday nights. And if play day was an indication, we're going to be good there. Talked to, like a Jason York and the Brad Bumgardner on Sunday, and they were just tickled to death with how the track shaped up. It was smooth. It was fast. You can see that we're going to be able to get 2 grooves there once we work the track in right. But for Silver Cup itself, right now we have over 60 entries for the 3 divisions between the 360 wing sprints, the IMCA modifieds, and the wingless cars. Now on Saturday it's going to be a Joe Hunt Magnetos race, points race. So we're offering that on Saturday. On Saturday it's also going to be the NorCal Dirt Modified Challenge. That's a new thing that's starting up that I know you've read about. And if I can sell you on one thing, Rico Abreu, who was there at our practice, as you know, Rico just turning the world by storm. He's going to race the World of Outlaws event in Vegas on Wednesday and Thursday night with Paul Silva. And then right after the race is Thursday, they're loading up, and they're going to drive the 10 to 12 hours straight through the night to get back to Chico. And Rico will be racing both nights of our Silver Cup. A lot of people saw the pictures I put on Facebook of Rico. His number this year is 24. And people are wondering, why is he 24? But I talked to him, and realistically, it's an easy answer. It's just because that was his go-kart number. When he first started driving go-karts, he was number 24. Well, most people associate him with the 89, and that was more of a Kading number. That was when Stadelhofer and Avery Vineyards and Kading fielded a car for Rico, and they had the Larson 99, so they went to 89 for Rico. So that really wasn't his traditional number, even though most people recognize Rico as 89. This year we're going to see him in a 24 car, and he was excited to be there. He loved the track on Sunday, and, I mean, that just shows you how excited he is to come run Silver Cup. They're going to be in Vegas with the greatest show on dirt and hightailing it out of there, driving all night to get to Chico for the Friday and Saturday Silver Cup.
So it really sounds like the Saturday portion of the Silver Cup is going to be maybe a long night, but an exciting night if you're a real fan of all forms of racing. And that's kind of, I think, the theme for you guys throughout the season. Just a lot of nights where you got a lot of variety of the different race cars. You brought on the USAC Ford Focus cars. Your economy sprint cars are building up. But I think the biggest thing for the fans to look at on your schedule is you're running the 360s a lot more often. Where do you think the 360 sprint cars are going to fit in on your long-term plans out there?
Well, that's a great question. I think ultimately the 410 winged sprint cars will survive. There's a lot of people in California that think, they're not going to survive. I always think they're going to be around. To what extent, I don't know, but obviously the wing 360s are very popular. They tend to get the higher car counts for Civil War, and Placerville just knocks them out of the park on Saturday night. Marysville, Petaluma, even down, Hanford and Tulare, they've got their own 360 deal down there. For Silver Dollar Speedway, that's a great question. I don't see any time in the near future where the 410 sprints would ever per se be eliminated from a weekly show, but obviously it's tough to field a 410. The real expense is the motor, and then you've got to rebuild it more often than the 360s. But another thing we've done, really, if you look at our schedule, the reason we've got a little bit of space in between 410 on Friday night events is we didn't want to schedule on top of the King of the West stuff. And George Haig and Gary Thomas and Dan Simpson down there with KWS and myself and Dennis Gage worked real hard over the off season to not schedule on top of each other, since we're the only weekly 410 wing track and they're the only 410 traveling series. So that's kind of why we added a couple extra 360 shows this year, Stephen, to tell you the truth, just so we didn't we want to give our guys a chance to go up to Fernley or do other traveling, and we wanted to help them kind of get off and start on the right foot and maybe allow them to get the most 410 cars they could. Because, let's be honest, it's another make-or-break year for 410 racing. I mean, with King of the West going to Fernley and Fallon and opening up a lot of open weekends in California, it's either going to be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Without weekly 410 shows that are traveling in California, what are the fans going to do? Well, if they don't go to Fernley, then they're going to end up supporting local 360 shows, and then that's could possibly turn the tables more towards 360 racing, as you know. I mean, you've worked enough with promoters, Stephen, that promoters are, it's a tough sport to make money in anymore, and they're going to look to see where they can make the most money. And if that means having more 360 shows, then, that's one direction that the promoters might head. But to answer your question with us, no, I don't think 410s will go away anytime soon at Chico. I think we've got a strong base, and I count at least 13 to 15 guys that should be regular 410 competitors just in Chico alone on Friday nights, and we've just got a strong local base, and that's why I love living in Chico. I mean, the racetrack's 3 minutes from my house, and I couldn't have a better gig right now.
Like you pointed out, you guys seem to have a really strong 410 base. In all honesty, It kind of surprised me when I looked at your points, and you had about 9 or 10 guys that ran the whole season. I think the biggest story in California this year is the fact that you're going to have King of the West, the World of Outlaws, and your guys' 410 program all on the same tire with the Hoosier tire. And you look at the car counts for Vegas and Stockton and your upcoming Mini Gold Cup, and it sure looks like there's going to be a lot of 410 sprint cars in your World of Outlaws event coming up.
Yeah, I assume. I mean, I think it's always good to be, united on whatever, whether it's a wing rule, a tire rule, motor rule, safety rules. Anytime you can have the same rules across the board, it's got to help. Obviously, with the Goodyear Hoosier split that we've had the last 2 years, it did affect car counts for not only the King of the West races, but the Gold Cup has never been the same. Once the Outlaws went to a Goodyear tire, that was the first year that we had down to 50 cars, when traditionally you get 80, 90 to 100. So I think that's going to help. Now, the only problem is the Outlaws are going to run an ASCS tire, and that's traditionally a little bit of a skinnier tire than the HTWs that we all run in California. So no one really knows how that's going to play out, because if you run with us or the King of the West or any other track in California, you've got to run an HTW, and the Outlaws are going to stick with an ASCS tire. And even though they're all Hoosiers, you are still going to have to buy an ASCS tire to run with the Outlaws. So that is going to be a little bit tricky. However, since it is Hoosier in the same compound, and maybe people will be more lenient to buy that tire because they feel safer than they did, or more confident than they did with the Goodyear. It'll be interesting to see how Vegas plays out, and we'll know basically that's the tipping point. How many Outlaws have come out? How many travels will be out? I'm sure they'll go from there, and do their do the Stockton thing, the Chico thing, the Tulare thing. I think this year a local has another great opportunity to win our Mini Gold Cup. It's just going to be up for anybody this year, and I assume that you're excited about Stockton and all the new places, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's something when you got, there's a new promoter at Orland, Stockton's coming online, Irwindale's reopening, they're putting dirt on Orange Show Speedway, Kern County's finally opening up. That's a lot of things in one off season.
I heard there was a practice day at Stockton on Saturday night. Did you have any information about how that went?
Yeah, it was almost all Watsonville guys. You had Shane Golobic there. I think Jason Statler was there. And from all indications, they were flat out around that racetrack. And it is a true 3/8 mile. It's just about, it's 3/8 on the nose. But if you're up on the top, it's a pretty long way around. It's a lot longer than that. But they were just about flat out in a 360 out there.
I know, they had a test in January, and I think a lot of people saw the YouTube videos. There was some in-car stuff, and there wasn't great feedback, but people seem to think, they had to do a little bit more work to the track to make it racier. So it sounds like what you're hearing is positive stuff, which is good. I mean, that's another dirt track that's going to try to open and survive in our economy, and especially in that area of Stockton. Man, it's got to be win-win for people in Sacramento. There's another viable dirt track that's literally, 30 minutes away, especially in Sacramento.
I think the last thing I want to ask you, Troy, is looking at your Silver Dollar Speedway schedule, and not all the special events are on there, like Pepsi Night's not really labeled on there.
Nope.
Do you guys have anything planned to honor Tyler Wolff this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're actually going to honor everybody that has passed, including even like Wayne Sue that passed over the winter, a big part of Silver Dollar Speedway. The first thing we're going to do is this weekend, we are going to do a Friday night, Friday or Saturday, one of the two nights. We are going to do a memorial lap for Stephen Allard and for Tyler Wolff, because when Tyler passed, it was in October and our season already ended. So we haven't had a chance to say goodbye to him. And then obviously most people know, Stephen passed away in December. So we're going to honor those guys just with memorial lap and whatnot that weekend. Jonathan Allard comes back for the mini Gold Cup, March 23rd at Chico, and he wants to honor his brother in front of the Outlaws, so we're going to do that then. As far as a memorial, we're going to do June 7th. It's going to be the David Tarter / Tyler Wolff Memorial. That's June 7th. We're hoping to have at least $4,000 to the winner. We're going to make it a 35-lap main event. 35 laps is key because that was David Tarter's number. However, on lap 19, we're going to stop the race and present the winner or the leader at lap 19 with a minimum of $500 for leading on lap 19, and that was Tyler Wolff's number. So we're going to do that night together. And then the Pepsi deal, since Tyler Wolff was the last one to win that award, and it's always the last race in August, he had a friend named Tim Magic, and Tim is a woodmaker, and he's offered to make the new perpetual trophy. We're going to call it, the Tyler Wolff Perpetual Trophy. Now, what this means is Tim's going to make it a unique trophy in honor of Tyler, and we're going to continue the same tradition. So if you win the main event 3 years in a row on Pepsi Night, you get to keep the trophy. Once whoever wins it this year will have to bring it back next year and the year after. So we're going to at least have this trophy for 3 years if someone can win it 3 years in a row. The other thing we're going to do is we're already in discussion with O'Reilly Auto Parts, some other local businesses, that we're going to have the Tyler Wolff Fast Time Award. So every Friday night on the 410 deal, whoever gets fast time is going to win the Tyler Wolff Fast Time Award. It's going to be presented by, let's just say, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they're going to give them a $50 gift certificate. We're going to have the Stephen Allard Hard Charger Award in the main event, and that'll be another $50 or $100 a night award. And then we're going to have the David Tarter Hard Luck Award, and that'll be another $50 or $100, whatever sponsors I can come up with. So all year we're going to do that, and then we're going to Kevin Shera is going to make a custom banner for us that we're going to display on the back straightaway, and it's just going to have the three drivers' numbers on it, and that'll be up all year. So we're trying to do things like that. It's going to be tough the first, mini gold or the Silver Cup this weekend, and not having Steven and Tyler there because they both would have been there racing it. So that's going to be tough, but we're all going to get through it as a big extended family. And, I've been in constant contact with both Chuck Wolff, Tyler's dad, and Ken and Debbie Allard, Steven's father and mom. And I see Howard Tarter on a weekly basis. So all three families know that the Speedway loves them, and we're going to take real good care of them this year and honor their sons with the highest dignity.
Well, Troy, it sounds like you guys have a great season planned and a lot of great things planned to honor those three guys. And we want to thank you for coming on to our radio show, and good luck this weekend with the Silver Cup.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, right now, to have 55 to 60 cars already pre-entered for 3 divisions is awesome. There's a little bit of tricky weather Tuesday and Wednesday, according to AccuWeather, but once we get through that spell, it says Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is all clear. So I think we're going to have a great weekend of racing. There's camping. You can come up Friday and camp all weekend with us. We're going to do some special giveaways this weekend, unveil some new things. So I hope to get a good crowd up there. I think people are ready to go back and smell the methanol, hear the sounds and see the sights of great grassroots dirt track racing.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. And a reminder, for the best in short track racing news, you can follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course on the website at StephenBlakesley.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at the races.